Hi everyone. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about cleaning again in another video. So what I'm working on now is the cleanup from the intruder that happened about 3 weeks ago. In just a really brief summary, he tipped over all the shelves with my tools on them, and I'm quite fluent in all the major trades, and there were 5 shelves of tools, and it effectively looked like an episode of Hoarders. This is the picture of the mess that was left behind. So I wanted to talk about tactically approaching this type of situation, especially for friends of people who are either seeing their friends with clutter building up, or for those cases that are hoarding. So what I did first was had one of my friends come over that afternoon and help me make a plan for how this was going to be cleaned up. And we talked about it for about half an hour and bounced some ideas back and forth. Ultimately, the plan was for me to get a few plastic tables borrowed, set up in my yard, bring everything out, and I do mean everything, and I would sit at the tables sorting through the stuff while my friend worked inside trying to clean up and tidy the bigger things and, bring the stuff out to me. For those who don't know, I have a physical disability, so there is a practical part to me needing help cleaning this up. But even in the case of hoarders, having someone coming alongside of you to help with a big task like this is a huge boost in morale. And in fact, the social services division of the local police gave me a call about a week and a half after this happened to ask if I needed support with the cleanup process and a therapist and that type of thing. So it's very much worthwhile knowing that you're not sort of alone when you're dealing with a physical mess, whether or not it just happened over several years or just kind of happened as a result of maybe a physical disability, and then it just sort of built from there over time. So what we did was, for about 10 minutes, my friend started carrying stuff out and putting them on the 2 tables, and he could clearly identify what was trash. And what I did was broke the things down into, yes, I need it and it's useful. So in this case, tools and donations for a local charity, this one, Value Village, because they're accepting donations right now, even during the COVID situation where some other facilities aren't able. And then the other things, some of the stuff would be building materials that were left over from this house being a handyman special when I was renovating it before my legs became so serious. So it didn't make sense to keep that stuff anymore. So I had a box for those types of things. And then breaking down what I owned into a few boxes that were like categories. So for example, screws, nuts, bolts, nails, washers, and that type of thing. And tools like screwdrivers and small handheld tools. And he kept the stuff coming out, and I had probably 30 boxes there, but didn't know how many I need, and just sort of went along a little bit at a time, just kind of one decision at a time. But I had a fairly clear picture in my mind of what was needed and what I could get rid of before this started. And the truth is that I've gone out there for the past 2 summers and done some purging, but knowing that I was needing more help again, and this was on my list of things to do before the intruder took place. So it wasn't hard for me. There was only sort of one thing that I struggled with getting rid of or not, and that particular item was something that I am legitimately going to need during the renovation of the shed into a home office. But the effort to store right now really didn't make sense, and maybe this would click with some people. That particular item is usable by Habitat for Humanity, and it made more sense to donate it to Habitat for Humanity, and then when the time comes that I do need it, I'll just buy more, and in the interim I've helped raise money for some charity build that will happen in the area where I live. So the more that I've got into the really deep clean of my home and trying to get pared down to a set of stuff that I'm actively using, the more well defined that it's come to me on what to keep and what to get rid of, and it's become quite easy now. It took about half a day of a friend helping me to get started, but after about half a day I was getting used to and getting easily rid of what had just sort of built up of it. At that point it was 9 boxes that had been dropped off at my home of stuff of mine that was left over from my childhood that was still at my dad's. So I was just sort of going through them, and it got quite easy getting rid of stuff, and just it's not part of life anymore. And that's really the two things I wanted to focus on. The first being defining what you're doing, what you're needing, and what's part of your life right now. And then being able to let go and knowing that whatever you donate will help the community and will make it easier to exist, because you don't have to think about the effort involved in dusting and keeping the possession clean and safe from damage. And I do think that's definitely worth thinking about. I don't pretend to have all the answers, and certainly the shows I've seen on TV that have had to do with hoarding have also involved a mental health therapist involvement to help break the cycle to repeat a recurrence, where I'd been going slowly at this, but physically needing someone to be there to help do a lot of the work is what's really sped this up, both with the house and out there in preparation for it becoming a home office for me. So I wanted to just sort of touch on these few things. It's worth mentioning that I've ended up with a group of stuff and sort of pared it down and got it together in a few boxes that I've contacted Habitat for Humanity to pick up. And I've got a set of stuff on my yard that I know someone with a truck that will take it to the dump. And then the stuff for Value Village was in the equivalent of one large garbage bag, and I've got a small trailer for my wheelchair, so I drove it up there, and you know, it's freeing to let go of some of the stuff. And I am very careful about that overall, but periodically you just need to do a really big purge and think about where life's at, and you know, if your vision and your plans are coming together, or if you need to change course and some things don't fit in your life now, so be it. There is some stuff that I've kept photos of, the really special stuff, but had no practical purpose in keeping the actual stuff. Things like pictures of childhood trophies that were nice, but they didn't really have a practical purpose for me, so I kept pictures of them should I want to see them again, or show them to friends or children, for example. But ultimately it's just one decision after another, and after you've done it for a certain while and you know what your life's about and you know what you're aiming for, it does get to be a lot easier and manageable. Anyway, that's what I wanted to give people to think about in this particular video about cleaning. And the other thing I think I want to mention is that some of the stuff you saw in my yard was left over from the fall when the roof was replaced and the snow came a lot earlier than expected, and I just haven't had it be picked up yet, and COVID's interfered with it. So some of it's built up from then, but it's going to be helpful to have just one sort of big load going out, and it's freeing to get it done. And it's very much worthwhile, in fact. Anyway, for those of you who do need the support, I honestly and encourage you to get it and be thankful it's available to you. And it may not be easy, but certainly self-improvement in any area of your life is well worth it. And the more you own your life, the better things will be for you. It may be a very painful process at the time, but after addressing past hurts or whatever's gone on in life, it does become worthwhile, and it'll help you feel lighter, and you're able to be more focused on the here and now instead of, for example, letting someone live rent-free in your mind. Okay, that's what I got to share for today's video. Thanks so much for this time that you spent with me today. Bye for now.